I want to say thank you for downloading the Mindful Money Retirement Income Plan. This is a very simple plan. It's just a spreadsheet. All the math is built into the spreadsheet. And I'm going to go through just very quickly how to go through and do and fill out and complete this so that at the end of it, you have an idea about what you need to save to get on plan so that you can retire with the income streams that you need. So you can read the directions just as easily as anyone. And if you just follow those directions on the instructions tab, that'll get you there. Or you can stay tuned here and you can watch me talk through each of the different tabs. So let's start with the first tab, the current cash flow tab. You're going to fill in throughout the entire spreadsheet, you're going to fill in all of the bright green highlighted cells. On the first tab, the current cash flow tab, you're going to fill in all the income, all your expenses. You can name the categories, whatever you like. Make sure to include your debt payments and your taxes as part of those expenses. And then put your current savings amount in the last green cell on the bottom there and fill out all those highlighted cells. And the spreadsheet's going to categorize them for you. And it's going to take them and total them up for the next steps. The next tab is the current net worth tab. And you're going to scroll down to fill in all the bright green highlighted items. Start again with the liquid, start with your fixed assets. This is your house and cars, your large fixed assets. And then you're going to build in your liquid investment assets. This is IRAs, taxable portfolios, Roth IRAs. It could be, annuities. It could be whatever those things that are liquid that get a daily balance from them. For me, I put in some private equity in there. Some of my more illiquid but still portfolio assets are in there as well. Then you're going to fill in your long and short-term debts as well, and it will also total things up and it will use them for the next calculations. On the assumptions tab, this is where we're going to get pretty juicy. This is where we're going to get really in the weeds in terms of stress testing. So on the assumptions tab, there's two pieces of information. The first is you're going to put in your long-term average return assumptions. The second is your inflation assumptions. We offer guidance. I know that some people aren't going to know what to do with this, so we're going to offer some guidance here. There are 5 portfolios that range from 20% equity, 80% fixed income to 100% equity, and they have associated average annual expected drawdowns, losses, and then the really big, horrible scenario drawdown loss, as well as the average expected long-term return. And so the number you want to put into the assumption is the numbered return that comes out of the portfolio that you embrace. So that means if you have a 20% equity exposure portfolio, you don't want to put in an 8% return number. That doesn't work. You got to be honest, or the spreadsheet's not going to work. So I've often recommended that people have 60% plus in equities as kind of a minimum. That's kind of my baseline, which means a 7% average return. I put in here as the baseline 7.5% average annual return. I think that's long-term reasonable. If you want to be more conservative than that, you can be more conservative than that. At the same time, just to the right of that, you'll notice there's an inflation assumption. We start with a 3.2% average inflation assumption. You can make this 2.2. You can make this 4. I wouldn't go much lower than 2. I wouldn't go much higher than say 4.5, because the long-term averages, range between 2.5 and sort of 3.5, 3.7% if you want to really get serious. Which means that average, obviously, both in the return and the inflation place, there's going to be years we're going to have much larger inflation, much larger returns, and years we're going to have much lower inflation or much lower returns. That's how we get to the average. So once you complete this process and go through the whole spreadsheet and get your answer of how much you need to continue saving, and you realize you can do that, then you can come back and you can stress test this. What does it look like if I have a high inflation environment? What if inflation does average 5%? What if returns are lower than expected? What if I do get returns in the 5% range instead of in the 7% range? What does that do? How do I have to save more? How much more do I have to save to make up that difference? And that's one of the best ways you're going to be able to stress test using this spreadsheet. So then you're going to move on to the retirement life plans tab, and you can input the time variables, your current age, your assumed retirement age, your life expectancy, as well as the percentage of the expenses you're going to carry into retirement. And so why is that important? Well, if on that expenses tab, 10% of those expenses are savings, are going into your 401k or 403b or your IRAs, then though that 10% doesn't need to continue into retirement. So that means you need 90% of your expenses. And often there's other things that are tied to our work lives. We have to have a work wardrobe. We might have to have a car that's better than normal to get a long distance. So there's all kinds of other expenses that are sometimes tied to work. So maybe only 80% of your expenses are needed in retirement. Maybe it's 90, maybe it's 100. Again, you have control of that in the spreadsheet. And that's just another way you can stress test. Also at the very bottom, the last green thing to fill out, last green cell to fill out, is your expected fixed income in retirement. This is one box that you can total up the expectations for Social Security, pension, net rents. If you have a business in retirement that's going to spin off an income stream, then you can put that here as well. Royalties from the sale of books or music, if you're a musician or an author, that all can fit into this one tab here. The expected income, not from portfolio, not from work, sort of the fixed income, the baseline for your retirement income. And then once you build that in there, you're going to notice that you're going to see the retirement goals box and the additional savings goals box. The retirement goals box expresses your total savings required to meet the retirement income that you've written down. And the additional savings goals box is going to subtract out your current savings amounts. And this leaves you with the additional amount you need to save on a monthly or annual basis to get there, and to get to those income goals that you're establishing. You'll also note the graph on this page shows that your investment portfolio value, which doesn't include your large fixed assets, your house, your cars, or your personal assets, which your clothing, the technology in your house, those sorts of things, the engagement ring that you got, that you received or you gave to your partner, etc. It's just the graph just shows your portfolio assets because it's your portfolio that's going to be spinning off the gap income to make ends meet. And it's set to calculate and run out at your life expectancy. So the idea is you're creating an income stream that rises with your rising cost of living and ends at the last date of your life. And the things that are left over are going to be your large fixed assets, your house, your cars, and your personal assets. The portfolio will be gone. So another great way to stress test this would be to make yourself retire or life expectancy be 10 years longer than expected. So if you're thinking you might live to 95, put 105 in there. And that's a good way to stress test this as well. Now, as you run scenarios, you can save them under different headings and compare your different plan outcomes to each other. When I looked around on the internet, I didn't see anything like this out there. And I hope you can understand how powerful this knowledge can be once you begin to play with the spreadsheet and understand what it's telling you. Obviously, I can't guarantee you're going to achieve the returns you're inputting into this spreadsheet. I can't guarantee that the inflation or longevity is going to cooperate. This is just math. You've got to work with it, and you got to run different scenarios to see, what if. But it will give you a good sense of whether you can be on the path or whether the path that you're on has to shift itself. If you don't have enough income and resources to create the additional savings to get you to the path you want, the sooner you know that, the sooner you're going to be able to make changes and alter course and make improvements on things, earn more, spend less today, retire later, etc. That's what this spreadsheet will tell you. And I hope it's really helpful. Please share it with anyone you think is going to find value in it. And if you have questions or comments, please leave them on our social media channels. I'm happy to answer them. It's really exciting for me to get this out there.